afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining me again. I know at our last session we spoke about my social work identity and the framework that I'm choosing to follow. So today we're going to talk a little bit about my social work journey, how I got to be who I am. And so it's been a pretty long journey. I've been in Canada now 15 years. Part of that time I spent 4 years in Ontario, and then due to circumstances, family circumstances, I moved to Alberta, and just so happened that I ended up in Fort McMurray. So I know there's many people who don't really like Fort McMurray, but I actually do. It gave me a lot of opportunity to be who I was. It gave me a chance to go to school and become what I've always wanted to be, which is a social worker. So what I found when I was doing my social work practice or starting in my social work career was that first and foremost, and that's something that everybody should know, being a social worker, you never get rich being a social worker. So I took a drop in salary to go into this career, and for me it was because all social workers need to have a passion and a burden for social work. So what I've discovered in my journey as a social worker is that I really love working with people. It brings out a lot from me. I find that I'm becoming a better and better ally the more I work with people. And for me, going from working with people on an individual basis to working with community and then working with the government was a big, how can I put it? It was pretty hard, because I always thought I was a very people person and wanted to work on an individual basis. So learning to go from macro to meso to micro has been pretty challenging, but it's also shown me that it is very important as a community developer to be able to embrace all those pieces of yourself, because you know what, working from an individual, understanding what it is the individual needs and understanding individuals, the roots and causes of their problems is what helps you to be able to work on the meso level, to work with community, to work with non-governmental organizations, and then also to be able to do the social justice piece and the social policy and fight for changes and work with places like what we did with the South Sudanese, the Calgary Child and Family Services. You know, being able to meet with them and be able to collaborate and be able to bring a management member of Child and Family Services to the table to hear what the South Sudanese said. So for me, those pieces are very important, because policy change needs to happen, because we do understand that Canada is an inclusive and it's a diverse growing population. So seeing that then, seeing how they've made such big strides in trying to work with the Aboriginal community, this is the same, very similar framework that's going to be needed to work with our immigrant populations. So in saying that there, my future goal is that eventually I would love to work in gerontology. I believe that the elderly and senior population have a lot to share with us, and they are not appreciated or they're taken for granted, but they play a very important piece in development. And again, it goes back to my social work worldview. We really depended on the elderly. They told us, they sat down and they told us stories that were very important to us as a community. That's what made me grow. So what I've decided is that I will eventually work with elderly. At this point in time, I still feel a very, very strong sense of wanting to work in community and specifically wanting to work with an immigrant population. After 15 years being in Canada and seeing what I've seen, I think that it would be very beneficial for me to go in that way and in that direction. But one of the more recent goals that we are going to be looking at, and I think this is really fantastic, because it shows that in our practicum CCIS really felt and developed respect for what Noelle, my other co-worker, co-practicum student, and myself were doing, and they have asked us to collaborate with them and continue to work with them. One of the things we're going to be doing is trying to do a collaboration with the University of Calgary and Calgary Catholic Immigrant Society, and we're going to be doing a symposium on the health and welfare of immigrant children, youth and families. And the nice thing about that is because CFS has finally recognized that it's not only about the child. If you want a healthy child, you need to have a healthy family. And part of that, a healthy family, means a healthy community. So being able to bring all the players like Alberta Health Services to the table, education, Calgary Police, Child and Family Services, everybody that has something to do with the youth, with the child, with the family and the development is going to be brought to the symposium. We're planning to have the symposium in March, and so we're going to be starting to work on that. The other thing that they asked us to do was to create a foster parent workshop, and Child and Family Services are the funders of the program, the Cultural Brokerage Program, and so what they have asked from CCIS is that they create a foster parent workshop that talks about cross-cultural parenting and cultural competency for foster parents. So it's something that foster parents can go and take, and it's a 3-hour workshop. The last thing that they've asked us to do is to create a symposium for South Sudanese, very similar to the one that we're going to be doing on the health and welfare of immigrant children, except this is going to be more for the South Sudanese, and it's going to be about their collaborations with CCIS, and we will be working with Initiatives of Change for this year, because Initiatives of Change have done the peace and rebuilding piece of the puzzle, which is very, very much needed, especially where you have communities that are at war in the old country, and that war has traveled into this new country. There's still those animosities and divisions. So we'll be working with Initiatives of Change with that thing, and we're going to be bringing presenters from different South Sudanese and mainstream to discuss building capacity of the South Sudanese community. And so for me, I think that it's very important, and it's a celebration, the fact that and I feel really honored that they feel that they would like us to do this work with them. So that is all that I want to tell you about my social work journey, my future goals, and going forward, I know that social work, especially with the social workers that we have now, who are inclusive, in an inclusive, diverse community, are going to make a difference. So thank you very much for joining me, and I'll talk to you again.